Hi, and welcome to Kismet. I'm so grateful you're here. I'm Jackie Abramov, and I'm a practicing Western astrologer. I'm a somatic energy healer. I work with the unconscious mind and reprogramming, and I'm incredibly passionate about using astrology as a way to understand our bodies, understand our psyches, and understand our connection to source, to spirit. And that is actually what Pisces energy is about. So, this Pisces lunar eclipse that's happening on September the 7th is very connected with our soul's path to source, to understanding our deepest connection, our purpose that is greater than anything we could do, but that really connects us with our sense of being and being safe in our bodies. So this lunar eclipse is going to perfect early on Sunday morning, 11 a.m. That's in Arizona time, so you'll have to adjust for your location. But this eclipse is happening at 15 degrees of Pisces. So if you have planets or points from about 10 to 20 degrees of Pisces or the mutable signs, so that's Virgo, Sagittarius, or Gemini, then you could be feeling this a little bit more intensely. So, not right or wrong, not good or bad, but it just shows us by degree where an eclipse might be impacting something very specific or important in our lives. And this is why we get astrological transit readings so that we can stay connected with how current astrology is actually impacting our charts. So I'm going to go ahead and share the chart so that you can, if you're interested, if you're watching, you can look at the chart while I'm talking about the eclipse. So again, thank you so much for being here. If you are interested in, your own personal growth and you'd like to support my work or my channel, please hit the like or subscribe button. I would love for you to be a part of this evolution of my own journey. And today, I'm going to talk about this eclipse and starting with what the Sabian symbol is. Sometimes I use the Sabian symbols because they're interesting. And I find this one to be incredibly interesting because the words for this Sabian symbol are, in the quiet of their study, a creative individual finds a flow of inspiration. And there is such a flowing energy under this eclipse. Now, flowing energy can be something that's beautiful and lovely, inspiring, creative. It feels fulfilling and lovely and blissful. But flowing energy can also be where everything is happening all at once. It can be a deluge, it can be overwhelming, it can be a flood of experiences and moments and emotions and feelings that are a lot for us to process all at once. So sometimes when people say, oh, there's a trine between two planets, that's a flowing energy, it's a good energy. Yes, but flow has multiple meanings. So there is a flowing energy with this eclipse, and I want you to know that it's not right or wrong if the flow is in one extreme or the other. And with this eclipse, we have, it's happening in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is all about our unique path to understanding our connection to source. And this to me is what inspiration is about. It is about this knowing at the deepest level that we are connected to spirit, that we are connected to source. And Pisces is a retreat energy. This is the part of us that wants to come away into the quiet to find restoration, to find peace, to find stillness. And ultimately, the real thing that Piscean energy is seeking is this connection to source and to spirit. And this tends to be very difficult. So often, when we get alone, when we do have that quiet time, instead, we do something like watch TV, or we numb, or we scroll, or we maybe even read. None of those things are wrong or bad. but they do take us out of being present and being able to connect with source and spirit all on our own, just from within ourselves. And this is what the Piscean energy has a beautiful gift and capacity to do. Now, the other side of Pisces is Virgo. So the sun in this chart is in Virgo. It's conjunct the South Node and Mercury. So we have a strong Virgo energy. Virgo is this diligence that we have to really tend to life, to tend to the daily tasks and rituals. This Virgo energy is about this analyzing, understanding, picking things apart, perfecting, and not perfecting as in we're trying to be perfect, but that we're trying to improve things so that they get better. And both of both Virgo and Pisces tend to be very complex energies to understand, and they end up getting very misunderstood. And a lot of projection happens within the Piscean and Virgo energy, where we see what we want to see. We don't necessarily see what is truly there. So Pisces, highly complex. It is the totality of all the zodiac signs. It's the whole. It's the yin and the yang. So even though Pisces is a yin energy, we would say it's yin, it's feminine. It's actually holding the totality of feminine and masculine. So one of the beautiful essences of Piscean energy is that it's really deep, true love, compassion, forgiveness, this feeling of wholeness, this feeling of complete acceptance. However, Pisces has a huge, huge shadow side because Pisces holds the whole, the totality. So it holds the shadow. It can be very deceptive, illusionary, escapist, and a highly, highly addictive energy. So one thing that you're going to know, and it's important to understand through these eclipses, is that this energy is all about the extremes. And our soul actually learns through extreme experiences. It's through polarities. It's through moving from one side into the other that we begin to experience such extremes that we begin to awaken. It's through extremes that we can actually understand anything. So you can't understand an axis of energy. You can't even understand really Pisces and Virgo energy unless you've gone into and seen yourself in the extremes of these energies, because it's through the extremes that you can find the middle place. And if you don't know and you aren't able to embody and witness the extreme within yourself, then you're never going to be able to come into the center space. And this is the soul. This is what the soul is here to do, to understand, to evolve. And there isn't a right or wrong. If we never come into a centered place of understanding, it's still valid because the polarities, the extremes are valid parts of the human experience. And that's something you're always going to hear me say, that there is no right or wrong within any axis within astrology or in the human condition, because astrology speaks to our human condition. So Virgo and Pisces filled with bliss, beauty, love, all good things, and grief, loss, distortion, escapism, and addiction. This is that axis. We're dealing with real big extremes here. A lot of people struggle with this axis. So Pisces is also about this unspeakable mysticism, magic, mystery. It is about the miracles. It's about this incredible connection that you have to the entire universe. It's about our faith. It is about our ability to see that in every moment, even when we feel disconnected, that we are still connected to the whole. So Pisces is imaginal. It is this capacity that we have to tap into the unseen realm and to create something from that space. So a lot of times artists, very prolific artists, have strong Piscean or Neptunian energy or 12th house energy. And that is because they're able to flow into that imaginal unseen realm. They have an archetype that moves into that unseen realm. So this is the Piscean energy is about our connection to the muse, that inspiration. That's what I love about the Sabian symbol. It's when we get alone in our quiet place that we have that flow of inspiration. And this is one of the most beautiful parts once you begin to work with and learn how to be with Piscean energy, learn how to be with yourself. Pisces is about that solitude, that capacity that even in solitude, in aloneness, you are still completely connected to the whole. So it's this unconditional, loving acceptance and belonging that you can only really know through that Piscean energy. This is a major, major part of my work in this lifetime. What I'm here to put out into the world is this somatic release and reprogramming in connection with your astrological natal chart. That each of us has these unique archetypes that we're here to work through and understand. And we can work through and understand them through this process I created. And this is a space where we're able to bridge that divide between the logical left brain and the creative right brain. So often we're either feelers or we're thinkers. And what I'm creating is a space where we don't have to escape one or the other, but we can actually bring them together and understand how to utilize them in order to awaken to our authenticity, to our power, to our sovereignty, to understanding oneness. And this, of course, this is all the Piscean realm. So this eclipse, it feels really, really magical, really, really powerful. But also it's going to be full of complexity. Now, Virgo, on the other hand, is this capacity that we have to bring this beauty, magic, mystery into the mundane. So often Virgo gets a really kind of hard rap for being maybe cold or critical. But the beauty and the essence of Virgo is that it's incredibly magical to do the mundane. When you clean out your closet, you open a portal for abundance. When you create order where there was disorder, you open the portal for something new to come in. You create a place for things to land. So Virgo is this ability to work with the material realm and to know that it is not less spiritual than the immaterial realm. And this is something we see a lot in spiritual communities, this divide where it can almost feel like, well, in order to, again, this is the extremes, in order to be spiritual, I have to give up all of these different parts of my life. And we can feel like we don't know how to hold the totality of our spiritual essence with living in the world. And so we tend to vacillate between these extremes in our personality. So in some ways, you'll see people go into this highly extreme, etheric, energetic, because they're needing to prove to themselves how spiritual they are. And then on the other side, they'll have these highly addictive tendencies that they keep hidden, that they don't show you. They only like to show you on Instagram or, in a public space how spiritual they are. But secretly, they're struggling with all these hidden things. And this is the Virgo Pisces axis. And this is one of the reasons I'm so interested in it because I struggled with this as well. I lived in this duality state for many years, all through my 20s, and realized how draining, suffocating, dissatisfying it was, and left me in a state of feeling like I was separated. And so my work is about bringing you home to a state of wholeness. This is why I love working with people one-to-one. You can't teach this in a public space. You cannot teach wholeness from a platform. You can't teach it on a podcast because it is about the feeling realm and the being realm. It is about logic and feeling, and you can't go to those spaces when there's too many people around or through a virtual experience. So, that brings me to one of the important elements of Virgo and Pisces. These are highly, highly emotional energetics, archetypes. This is where we tend to get overwhelmed by feelings. And so, what both of these energies tend to do is constantly seek that peace, that bliss, that joy, something that feels good. And there's an avoidance of anything that feels bad. Um, Now, these energetics, both Virgo and Pisces, because they have this extreme energetic and feel things so extremely, there is a strong tendency for both of them to land in illusionary energy, especially Pisces, but Virgo does as well. And Virgo's way of illusions is different than Pisces. So illusions are very hard for us to discern and understand. Obviously, because they're illusions. They look real. They look like one thing. It's difficult to grab a hold of them. They're slippery little fish. You've heard me say this before, that Pisces and the unseen realms are slippery. The shadow is slippery. It's something that you think you have it, and then boom, you don't have it. Um, and one of the easiest examples when we think of illusions is when you watch a movie. A movie is an illusion. It's not a real story. It's a story we created, but it is really happening. And this is that Piscean realm where we get drawn into like this illusionary state as we watch, say, a movie or a TV show, or maybe even Instagram. We get drawn in, we get emotionally attached to something. And this whole time, whatever is happening on the screen isn't even real. And you know what I'm talking about when you've watched a show and you've wanted something to happen and you've been emotionally invested in it. And maybe you've even cried or laughed or what, right? You're engaging in the illusionary state. So it's important to know the illusionary state is not wrong or bad, but there is something happening here that we are invited to understand. And many people have understood this on even, in the realm of a relationship. If you've ever been in a relationship and you've been kind of maybe caught up in the illusion that you thought someone was one way and then you realized that they're not that. And now they're showing you the complete opposite of that. This is an illusionary state. So illusion has a lot to do with infatuation, wanting the ideal, pretending that something is only the ideal. And the reality is that's the illusion that, we only want the hero to be good. But the hero in the story isn't just what we would consider, quote, good. That the hero also has faults and the hero also has these qualities that are not so lovely. Now, on the other side, we have Virgo. And Virgo has illusions that are very different than Pisces. Pisces is this idealistic, imaginative, romanticizing kind of illusions. This hope in that, Prince Charming or that one and beautiful woman who has no flaws, right? It's romantic. Virgo is different. It is more focused on this controlling the environment, making everything on the material realm look perfect. It has to do with trying to keep everything in perfect order so that everything will flow smoothly and there will not be any hiccups in life. And so there's this illusion that you can have complete control of circumstances. So a lot of times, Virgo energetics archetypes will struggle with things like eating disorders. And the eating disorder for a Virgo would be starving the body. And the illusion here would be, I can control something. I can control my body by not eating. Now, that is an illusion because at some point the body is going to need food. It's going to need to eat, right? And we know how destructive eating disorders are. And again, not right or wrong or good or bad, just awareness that, okay, this is the part of me that's trying to control something. You might be the type of, or you might have the type of Virgo controlling illusionary energy that's focused on your work. If I can make everything perfect at work, or if I can make everything perfect at home, or if I can get all of these things to look a certain way, then I'll be safe and I'll find peace. And just to add in here, Pisces would be the opposite of that, would be this inability to stop eating, because both Virgo and Pisces tend to struggle with things like eating disorders or addictions. And this is because there's a tendency to seek peace, to seek trying to find peace. And one tends to find it through lack of control and the other through control. So we're, as humans, we're constantly making our way through the illusions in the world. This is Pisces. We're trying to figure out what is real, what is seen, what is unseen. And everything on the external realm, everything that's happening, is an invitation to come inward, to know ourselves, to understand who we really are. And as I said, this is not something that you can learn in just a logical way. This isn't something that you can just be taught in a seminar or by a teacher. This is something that needs to be taken into your own inner space. You need time to contemplate this. And not everyone is on a journey in this lifetime to do that. And so if that's not your path in this life, that's okay. But I'm letting you know that is a path, and that is the path to source, and that is the path to awakened sovereignty and oneness, because the totality, the complete center space is full acceptance. And when we are in full acceptance, we're in an awakened state, and that is not an easy state to obtain. So, as I've mentioned, Pisces and Virgo have this extremism energy. We're extremely practical, we're extremely controlling, we're extremely escapist. And this could be obviously in many different ways. You might escape through an experience, through shopping, through media, through substances. You need to allow yourself to see your own escapist energy. Well, sometimes this is very subtle energy, or we have labeled our escapist energy as good, and we've labeled it as a good quality. And so we don't really like to identify that we're escaping through whatever we're doing. And both Pisces and Virgo really struggle with seeing themselves in their own shadows and seeing their extremist energy. So this is where we're being invited under this eclipse, under this Virgo energy, to admit, to see what is our shadow, what is our extremist tendency, where are we, trying to avoid seeing this part of ourselves in order to keep ourselves safe. Now, we don't like to identify with these things because we're afraid of not being good. And ultimately, this is, again, Pisces coming back to there is no good and bad in Pisces. Pisces is holding the totality, the yin and the yang, and all is safe within true Piscean energy, which is source. Everything is safe within source. So, as I've mentioned, Pisces is this temporary indulgence energy, okay? It's seeking bliss states. Virgo, a temporary indulgences in being busy, in having something to do all of the time. Both are avoiding stillness, quietness, aloneness. So you can even be an escapist by constantly listening to podcasts, constantly needing to learn something. Those things aren't right or wrong or good or bad. Again, we're just trying to bring awareness to where are we actually doing something that's really not satisfying us because we're avoiding being, we're avoiding stillness. So under this eclipse, this is a time where you could have a surge of emotional energy, and that you might feel that pull to use something to distract yourself, to avoid, to numb. And usually, when we're doing that, we're trying to avoid what both Virgo and Pisces tend to always try to stay away from, which is grief, sadness, pain, hurts, deep longings of aloneness, feeling that we are, yeah, feeling that we're alone. So there, there is an opportunity here for us to let those emotions move through without judgment. Now, this again, this is why I hold space for people because this is pretty difficult to do. Um, we often want to be witnessed in our pain, and friends and family really don't have the capacity to hold that space for us because they're on their own journeys. And it is a lot to ask other people who have not already done their own inner work to hold space for us. This is why we go to people who are specifically able to hold that space without taking it on. So there can be overwhelming or heavy feelings with Piscean energy under this eclipse. And there is just this invitation here to allow whatever needs to come through to flow through. So arrive in this moment, this weekend with this eclipse. Give yourself the capacity to just be here now. Maybe for you, this is about being in the beauty and the bliss and the all of life. And maybe you're in, one of your karmic experiences where you're just in a bliss state. Be there, fully be in that. That's okay. That's beautiful. We want that. But some other people are going to be feeling deep grief and sadness, because these are the extreme versions of this, Pisces eclipse. So Pisces is also, as we were saying, this very creative, imaginative energy. If you have time to be alone during this eclipse, you could have a flood of creative inspiration. So the more you give yourself that space, the more you are open. Another thing that you could do during the eclipse is use art as a way to still the busy mind. And of course, for me, I love to create sound healing experiences. This is going to be one of the most beautiful ways for Source to come in and speak to you and for the body to receive and release whatever is needing to be seen or released or absorbed or whatever revelations are meant to come through. These are the spaces where we, create the opportunity for that. So Pisces is this invitation and a portal into this unseen realm. This means opening our eyes to the spiritual, to the connection of the spiritual and the material. That there isn't actually separation, that all is actually one. So that whether you're staring at the clouds and you're just looking at the earth and it's incredibly beautiful and you're in a state of bliss there, or you are all alone and you close your eyes and you're creating that state from within, you can do that in any place that you're at. So slow down during the eclipse. Be mindful with your everyday tasks that everything you do is your own connection to the whole. And so how you do every little thing matters. Pisces is also an energetic where we can feel very desolate, very like we're entering into a void state, or where we're going through a death portal. And so you might be going through one of those right now where you're losing something or you're You think that you're losing something that has been really important to you. Um, that can be a void space and that can be really difficult. And if you're going through something like that, I definitely recommend seeking the support of someone that can hold space for you to move that grief through your body. Some really important practices during this season could be journaling, writing, walking, sitting out in nature, doing some kind of yoga, and connecting even with sitting down and just drinking a cup of tea, being slow, and just allowing whatever needs to move through. Okay, so I want to talk now about karma and how eclipses are very related to karma. Okay, the north and the south node, that's the ecliptic. That's where the eclipses are going to happen, is where the north and the south node in our charts, in transiting astrology, this is where we're going to see eclipses happen. So this is about karmic completions and karmic beginnings. And a lot of times astrologers forget to mention that actually during an eclipse, you could have a karmic experience opening for you. Now, karma is not good or bad. Karma is something that we're here to understand. There's an experience, a fated person, moment, encounter, life experience that we're going to go through, that we're here to learn about ourselves through this experience. So, our tendency is to, when we have a karmic experience, it tends to be difficult because it is inviting us to look at ourselves, and our tendency is to project outwards. So, with karmic experiences, we tend to point the finger, we end up feeling rejected, and we blame the other person or experience. And this is our lack of understanding. So, if we're actually going to learn from whatever karmic experience we've been in or we're entering into, it's an invitation to look inward. It's an invitation to understand that this person or experience or event is a reflection that has come to show us about ourselves. It's not a punishment, it is a revelation. It isn't something that's bad happening to us. It's about owning what is inside of us. And here is a very important spiritual truth. Whatever you aren't able to own within yourself is going to own you. And that means that if you're pointing the finger of blame or judgment at someone else, you're casting that same judgment on yourself, and that judgment owns you. This is the shadow energy. And if you will not acknowledge it within yourself, you will continue to draw experiences, people, and events into your life to reveal that whatever that is within you is within you. So the invitation is not to reject, but to accept. This, again, is a key word for Pisces and is one of the most difficult things. This is that slippery little fish. It's hard for us to see our shadow. It's hard for us to see things about ourselves. But this is where the greatest freedom comes in. And that brings me to another word or theme with Pisces and Virgo, which is humility. Humility is key. I talk about this all the time, that if you're going to be able to see something within yourself, that it's going to take being able to hold that you don't have to be perfect, that you didn't come here to be perfect, and that no one is perfect, and that that's okay. So this is a full moon lunar eclipse. This is about a release because it's a full moon, but we have the moon conjunct the north node. And so that tells us that there's also something very important opening for our karma. This is about our growth. This is about our evolution. And we just had Saturn move back into Pisces, and it's going to be here for about 5 months. And with Saturn moving back into Pisces, this is a very important time to button up loose ends that you may have started in 2023. This is about clarity and learning about boundaries and learning about sovereignty in regards to yourself, your shadow, that you have been working through since March of 2023. So you want to think back to that time period because what's happening at this eclipse and what's happening over the next 6 months is going to be related to whatever you've been working through in this Piscean area of your chart. And again, if you don't know, this is why you get transit readings to connect with this energy. So a lot of emotion is flowing. We have Jupiter in a trine to the North Node and the Moon and to Juno. So there is a pivotal flowing energy here. Some of us, of course, are going to have a beautiful time with this, and others, it's going to be quite difficult. Be aware that there's going to be extremes during the eclipse and that that's okay. But there's pivotal moments here, pivotal moments of change. You want to think about some of the small things. Often we think an eclipse is like, oh, it's going to be this grand event. And sometimes it is. Sometimes it's you move across the country. Sometimes it is that you move into a new home or you end a relationship. And it is this very big life-changing experience. But often it's in very subtle energy. And this means that something small happens that creates a massive shift in your life. Now, what happens is we don't pay attention to the subtle, small energies. And that is why I'm talking about it, because I want you to pay attention to your lives and to the small, pivotal things that are happening when you say no. That doesn't really align for me anymore. Maybe you don't tell somebody that whatever they invited you to doesn't align, but you know for yourself, actually, this is no longer aligned for me, and you say no. That can be this moment where everything shifts for you. That can be where the door begins to open because you've now closed a loop. You've closed a way of being in the world and you're open to a new one. This could also be a subtle yes. You're ready to try something new, something you've never done before, and that very subtle, oh, sure, I'll try this. I'll be open to this thing that's new, uncomfortable, or unknown. And that little yes will take you to the next right person, the next right step, the next right thing for you. Now, we have Jupiter making a trine to the Moon and North Node. Very beneficial energy. For some people, this is going to be really profound experiences of change and evolution. But Jupiter's also in a square to Mars. And so what this means is that this expansion could come at the cost of cutting, ending, and severing a relationship, a person, or a way of relating. This is specifically going to have to do with codependent energies. Any old ways that you have been trying to keep the peace, this is about breaking that, ending that cycle. And this could also be that you're feeling that you're ready to break through some kind of glass ceiling you've set for yourself. Something you've been kind of lugging around, this like feeling that you can't do or you can't be more than whatever you are. This is about breaking that energetic. And again, this could be in very small, simple ways, like you say yes to buying something that you're wearing something you've never worn before. And that wearing whatever that is gives you this sense of permission to be more authentic and to not have to subscribe any longer to ways that maybe will make other people more comfortable. That is a very simple example, but sometimes that can be a huge shift for us. Be aware during this eclipse of anxieties or overwhelms. And if you are feeling any of those, give yourself plenty of time and space to release those. Yoga, sound healing, those are good places. But the best thing to do is if you're feeling overwhelmed or anxious, because Virgo and Pisces tend to be both of those are very anxious energies, get some support. Be with someone that can hold the space for you to release. Usually this is going to be healer, or this is going to be entering into some kind of healing space where you're going to be able to move through that emotion rather than stuffing it down or keeping it in. So a couple things that I will suggest that you ask yourself under this eclipse, some questions to contemplate are, what emotions are here for me? Am I in resistance to any emotions? What do I need to give myself space to feel? Where am I pointing the finger at someone else and not able to own that energy within myself? What illusions am I holding on to because I want to stay safe or small? What karmic pattern am I ready to release from my body? And then what is the dream that I want to create for myself? Now, it's important to play with both energies here of releasing and creating, because we have the North Node very connected with this full moon, which means if we're able to release something, we're able to step into something else. So very, very pivotal, exciting eclipse. There's so much coming through here. If you are interested in booking a session, you can connect with me on my website, kismetmystic.com. I'd love to hear from you, hear how this eclipse is happening for you. And I just send you all so much love and support during this eclipse. I hope that it brings something powerful, something beautiful in your life. And I will talk to you soon. Bye for now.